Hey guys, so as I was grading writing assignment 1, I noticed that people were really struggling with developing a thesis statement, which is the main point of your whole paper, as well as developing the overall introductory paragraph. Some people had their essay as one whole paragraph, sometimes it was just two paragraphs, and really you should have like something that's only 1,000 words. It should be like 3 to 4 paragraphs because you should have an introductory paragraph, should have some body paragraphs, and then you should also have a conclusion. So let's talk about the thesis statement, what it is, and how it works within the introductory paragraph, and then we'll go from there. So I'm not gonna read all this stuff to you, but I found this paper that I put together from previous students' papers when I used to teach 105 and 106 back when we used a different textbook. And anyway, so I just wanted to go over this and talk about first how to write your introductory paragraph. So there are certain parts to introductory paragraph. The very first part would be your tension getter, and that is how you're going to draw your reader in. Now you can do that with a question. You can do that with a short story, an anecdote. You can also do that with like a shocking statistic, something like that. So there's several options there. But you start with an attention getter that's relative to the point that you're going to make. And then what you need to do next is have a transition, and that could be a couple of sentences even, that takes you from point A, being your attention getter, to point C, which is going to be your thesis statement. So first you start with your attention getter, then you have some transition sentences that lead you from your attention getter to your thesis, and then finally you have the thesis statement, and that is the main point that you are trying to make. Sometimes it's an argument, sometimes it's just a point about something. So like for this last assignment, you were trying to make a point about something you learned, and it wasn't just you were telling the story about what you learned. There was a point, there should have been a point to it, a thesis. So one thing you never want to do with your thesis is say something like, in this paper I will. You want it just to be a naturally occurring point that you make. So these are some examples from previous semesters that I taught. And like it says here, it says attention getters are in bold, the connecting sentences are in italics, and then the thesis statements are underlined. So let's just see. We'll start with this first one. I'm not going to read them all. I'll upload this document so you can take a look at it. But it says, search Google for need to escape and you will be rewarded with links advertising beautiful white sandy beaches with there's our sun dancing on crystal clear blue waves that will sweep you away. Unfortunately, for those that really have a need to escape something in their lives, a 7-day, 7-night stay on the island for $3,000 will not rid them of their fears or needs to escape. Okay, so that's the attention getter, and this hasn't been corrected. So there's still grammatical errors in there, but just looking at the content here, that's kind of like a little scenario that gets your attention, gets you drawn in, like, what's the point of this? Where is this going to go? So now we have our transitioning sentences. Adam Phillips expresses the need for individuals to escape traumatic or oppressive experiences in their lives in his essay, Houdini's Box. We all have something that we need to escape, be it our job at the end of the day, a traumatic experience, or the fear of repeating the past. And then here we have the main point that the paper is going to make. I myself have a never-ending need to escape a choice I made when I was 21 years old. Okay, so the first part is attention getter, and you can't just go from that to I myself have a never-ending need to escape because that would confuse the reader. So you have to have transition sentences, these connecting sentences. They're like little breadcrumbs, right? Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs. You're like laying them out for your reader so that they can follow you to your next point. So we went from that, kind of describing what need to escape typically means, and then it kind of transitions a little bit here where it's talking about a 7-day, 7-night stay will not rid them of their fears or needs to escape. And then we have the transition sentences which take you from that scenario to the article that the student had to read, and then the point the student is going to make in his essay. So now as a reader, I'm like, oh, this whole paper is going to be about this person's need to escape and a choice that he or she made back when he was 21 years old. So now the rest of the paper is set up so that the body paragraphs from there on out are going to give details and maybe tell additional stories or give facts or, whatever, that are going to come back to this point and support that point. So if you watch the videos that I did of me grading 3 students' papers, and one of them I talked about, the thesis is kind of like, it's like the skewer to a shish kebab. So you have the thesis is like the skewer in that it goes all the way throughout the shish kebab, right? So you've got your meat, you've got your veggies, whatever you have on there. And that is like the meat to your paper, like you're having all these other points that you're making, like your chicken, your onions, your red peppers. Those are all the points that you're going to make. But the one thing that is constant throughout that whole essay is the thesis, because you're always supporting that main point, just like that skewer is going through that kebab. Same thing. And then you'd have your body paragraph supporting details that tie back to that thesis, and then you have your concluding paragraph, which will like highlight the main points you made or summarize it and tie it together and end it. Sorry. So we'll just skip down to this last one. So when William Black first wrote The Schoolboy, he included it in his collection of poems entitled The Songs of Innocence. Later, he decided to move the poem to his other compilation labeled The Songs of Experience. So it's like interesting fact, right? So that's another style of attention getter. Many critics still debate whether or not The Schoolboy should be included in the Songs of Innocence or the Songs of Experience. So we have our transitioning sentence or little breadcrumbs taking us from interesting fact to the point, which is, because it satisfies Blake's concept of experience, The Schoolboy should be included in Songs of Experience. So we went from a little interesting fact, breadcrumbs leading us to the main point, and then the main point of this whole paper would be why the poem The Schoolboy should be included in Songs of Experience. And then the rest of the paper would support that. There would be examples from the poem that support that, maybe even research from from actual critics, literary critics, that would support that argument, and then it would lead to a conclusion. So that's how you want to develop your introductory paragraph. And remember, your thesis statement should be a clear statement of the focus of your paper. What is the main point you're going to make with whatever story you're going to tell? So it's the same thing with this assignment that's due tomorrow night. What is the main point that you're trying to get across when you talk about this like language or this community that you belong to? So hopefully that helps.